I'm Kai Cheng Thom, and you're watching Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse. This is a series of short videos in which I answer all your questions about how to survive and thrive in the middle of the apocalypse, which, as we know, just is continuing to happen. So you might have noticed that we're back indoors in my beautiful filming stage slash living room slash bedroom slash library slash whole entire universe. It's just me and my cat and Snorlax over here. Snorlax does turn into a ditto though, so it's more like I have 3 friends and not 2, so I feel pretty lucky about that. Yeah, why am I back indoors? It's because, of course, we are filming this in the time of the second wave, and here in downtown Toronto, numbers are looking, well, they're not looking good, I will say that. So for the safety of myself and the safety of, everyone, our loved ones, our stuffed animals, we are back indoors and will be for the foreseeable future. Fortunately, I know you love having this incredible backdrop. So Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse, Indoors edition. So today's question is one that is pretty serious and very close to my heart as a trans woman. The question is, during quarantine, I came out to my partner and some close friends as trans, but I haven't really been able to access medical support because of the quarantine. So how do I keep it together while I'm waiting to start the transition? First, I want to say this is a tough question, and there aren't easy answers to it. So it's kind of like, I don't know, but hopefully some of the things I'm about to say next will help at least a little. The first thing I would say is that some supports may be more available than you think. I think there's a tendency for those of us who are cautious in the middle of emergencies and also really being careful about other people's health to be like, oh, I can't access transition-related care at all. But the truth is, some supports may actually be available. So many general care practitioners, so that would be family doctors or nurse practitioners, are actually able to interview and evaluate you over the phone and to prescribe hormone therapy as well. They may require a blood test, but there are some centers that are still doing blood tests, particularly for urgent issues. So that's something I know that at least some folks are still able to access. Surgeries, it really depends on where in the country or where in the world you are. In Canada, there was a moment in time where quite a few trans people were actually being able to get transition-related surgery during the pandemic because of priorities kind of being shifted back toward them. But now, because numbers are rising again, I'm not too sure what the situation is. All this to say, it could be possible, which means it's worth it to look. And just because the first medical provider you see might say, oh, I don't know about that, you'll have to wait because it's not urgent. This is where that long history of being trans people who need to advocate for ourselves, especially in the medical system, comes into play. A really important statistic that you may want to remind, may or may not want to remind your medical practitioner of, is that the most dangerous time mental health-wise for trans people, the highest risk time, is the moment when we've decided to medically transition but aren't able to access medical transition-related care. That's shown out in the research, particularly in a study called Trans Pulse, which was carried out here in Ontario with a really large sample size, and it's available to the public. So it's really easy to find, and medical providers need to know this information. It's an important point of advocacy for yourself to say, this is a dangerous time for me. My mental health could seriously suffer, and you are responsible for making sure that I'm okay. And I might say it just like that. For some reason, professionals, healthcare and otherwise, all get a little bit more, helpful sometimes when we remind them of what's at stake. Your own health, also their professional reputation. So that's important to know. On the other hand, it could be that those medical transition-related supports really just aren't available because if you don't live in an urban area or there just aren't really medical providers around who are competent to give you the care that you need, or it's really hard to access pharmacies or something like that, well, I will say, this is a really valid problem and there aren't really awesome solutions to it. What I want to say, though, is because we know that this is a really serious time, that to address your mental health needs is a really, really important priority. So making sure that you have access to emergency supports or crisis supports like hotlines. I really recommend LGBT Youth Line here in Ontario for folks who are 25 and under. I also really recommend Trans Lifeline, which is a hotline that is available in both Canada and the United States. These are hotlines that are specific to queer and trans people. Trans Lifeline is specific to trans people. And they provide some really great supports for if you just need to talk to someone in the middle of a crisis. You might also want to have a counselor or therapist on hand. You could build a support circle of friends. Because the asker of this question has mentioned that they've already come out to some close friends and a partner, it might be important to build an emergency or crisis or mental health support plan with that group of people, make them into a pod, actually make a schedule where someone checks in with you every day or every other day, or whatever it is you need, brings you stuff, food or blankets. These things might be small, but they make us more comfortable. And being more comfortable often makes us safer in the context of a mental health crisis. So that's something important to remember. And then, if you're looking to try things that might help you to feel like your gender expression or your gender presentation is more congruent with your gender identity, you might try looking at things that you can do regardless of the pandemic. So trying out a new name and pronoun, wearing clothes that make you feel really good, trying out stuff with makeup or other forms of gender presentation and expression. These things might help. Of course, for some people, they might also make things more difficult. So you really have to go with what works for you. You might want to experiment and see how you feel. But making sure the people around you know how you want to be addressed in terms of pronoun and gender identity, making sure that there's supportive people around who are really reflecting your identity as you see yourself, as you want to see yourself, is probably going to be key. All of that and making sure you have everything around you you need to weather a crisis. The important thing to know about crises is that they are, by definition, time limited. They do end. This pandemic at some point will end. It's really possible that your access to medical care will improve. So important to think about this as a storm that I am weathering, something I am getting through with emergency supports and the people I love. And on the other side of it, there might be something much, much better. Okay, I think that's it for today. This has been Ask Kai, quick tips for the apocalypse. Stay safe, wash your hands, and if you're a famous author winning giant literary prizes, maybe consider that now is not the time to say that whether or not trans women are really women is a legitimate debate. It's, you have your own opinions, freedom of speech, et cetera, but, maybe the time of mass global pandemic and civil unrest and the rise of fascism, not the ideal time to raise that. Okay, bye.